Wayward Courier, Chapter 4. When I woke up, the first thing I did was not investigate my surroundings, neither was it searching for my weapons, which I had been deprived of for some reason. Nor did I go off seeking revengeance for the rather violent abuse of my manhood. It did involve my manhood, though. It also included a fetal position, tears, and a lot of swearing. Like you can blame me. I'll bet you 3,000 caps that kick could have put a dent in a set of T-51B armor. I'd like to see you even stand up afterwards. I sure as fuck couldn't. Twilight's ears flattened as the human awoke, making a lot of noise in the process. During his unconsciousness, she had attempted to remove the strange thing on his arm. No matter what she did, the locking mechanism had proven far too stubborn, resisting her every attempt. So she used the time until he woke to find a solution to the language barrier, which she had. She was actually in the middle of attempting to circumvent the problem when he awoke. Doing her best to ignore the pain moaning, she focused on her only copy of the Canterlot Institute of Linguistics Equestrian Zebrakin Equestrian Dictionary, 8th edition. She had never tried to spell before, never having a need for do so in the past. She failed to notice the human stop his pain complaints to take notice of the intensifying glow coming from her horn. The pages of the dictionary seemed to be caught in a gale. Her face was twisted in concentration, doing everything in her considerable power to make sure that the spell succeeded. The flow of magic stopped, and Twilight took a step back from the book. A little dazed, she now had, in addition to the other information that ran rampant through her mind, a whole other language. She stumbled about giddily as she tested her new knowledge. "Oh, wow," she said, surprisingly at the unfamiliar yet perfectly intellectual sounds. "It worked!" she exclaimed in perfect Zebrakin. She began to giggle as she closed the dictionary and returned it to its spot among the bookshelves. Twilight's mild euphoria at having accomplished this feat of magic was brought to the complete stop when she heard the strange metallic clicking noise. "Next time you take my weapons, take all of them." She turned to meet the owner of the gruff voice, sitting on his posterior, pointing some strange metal thing at her, wearing the foulest look she had ever seen on a living creature, and she had been around an angel, Fluttershy's pet rabbit, was the human. So, I was being dramatic. What of it? Not like you'd be able to resist, right? I'm just glad her search for my weapons was quick and sloppy, just like the goons in the casinos. They'd never check your boots for a knife, look for hiding pockets with brass knuckles inside, or think you've got a revolver tucked in the back of your pants. I know for a fact you've got a combat knife strapped underneath the plate of your body armor. I can see the tip of the handle, by the way. Just who or why... Oh, right, the story. So, yes, I always go everywhere with a 44 mag, tucked into the back of my pants. Probably not really safe, but I'd rather not be completely unarmed. Why Magnum? Well, partly because I have a soft spot for revolvers. Mainly, though, its accuracy and power in a small, easy-to-carry package. You ever been shot with one? Who am I asking? Of course you have. You've seen how easy people go down. And parts to maintain them are common, too. Cheap, powerful, and durable. And one can be a bitch, but I only ever have 6 shots. Usually all I need to do is get to my other weapons. I wasn't going to shoot her. Intimidate her, yes. But I would never actually harm someone without good reason. Raiders are different. They'll take every opportunity they get. Then again, she didn't take my weapons, and for all I knew, I was being held hostage. But being held hostage usually involves rope and a lack of movement. No, wait, that's not the Gamora. Hostage situations include weapons. And as far as I was concerned, that horn could easily be one. I was practically in the same room with a perfectly sane, glowing one. All she had to do was start throwing radiation at me, and I was good as dead. I wasn't clearly thinking at that point. After all, I did just wake up after taking a hit to the balls that would knock out a Deathclaw Alpha in power armor. Wow, that's a terrifying thought. I was without most of my weapons. I didn't know where I was. For all I knew, they were going to lock me up and do things to me. So I just sat there, pointing a revolver at her and giving her the death glare. Let me tell you, it was taking so much willpower at the time not to burst out laughing. It took Twilight a moment to properly take note of the significant parts of what he had said. He said something about all of his weapons. The fact that one was being pointed at her means that she had not gotten them all. There was also the possibility that he had even more concealed on him, This meant she now had a dangerous, possibly heavily armed, and most certainly furious alien inside of her house. She was all alone with him. Eep. There was a tense silence, only broken when the human let out a strangled snort, collapsed into complete laughter, lowering the supposed weapon in the process, shortly before cringing and grabbing his crotch. Ugh, that still hurts. Twilight blinked before realizing what was going on. That was a joke? She asked loudly. How is that funny? The alien just blinked, not understanding a word she had said. So she let out an aggravated sigh and repeated herself in Zebrakin. You just don't have my sense of humor, he replied mockingly. And since when could you speak English? English? Twilight asked. What are you talking about? We're speaking Zebrakin. There was a rather strange silence at the point. For the sake of this conversation process, let's just say we were both right, okay? The human asked, his tone making it clear that he wanted nothing to do with this topic. After all, I have a few questions. No! How can we both be right? Twilight Sparkle argued. We're debating about what the name of a language is. It's logically impossible for us to both be correct. All she got for her trouble was an unamused look and the human putting the palm of his hand to his face. I'm asking the questions now, he said, ignoring her. Who are you? Where am I? And where can I find the one who... That was when the door opened, revealing Applejack, holding a basket of baked goods in her mouth. You! The human yelled furiously, pointing the strange thing at her. I very nearly pulled the trigger there and then. After all, she had kicked me in the balls. The last idiot to do that, I think it was one of the Legion's assassins, I ended up stomping on his throat and gouging out his eyes. A bullet to the head would have been merciful, really. Of course, my body decided that there and then was a good time to inform me that I had not eaten since I arrived in that world. I guess the smell of food was enough to remind me. I'm pretty sure that eased the tension. I kept the gun leveled at her. Yeah, another female. I didn't think much of it at the time. Give me the food, and I'll forget about what you did. I had to wait for her friend to translate. There was a rather dangerous silence. Honestly, I was worried the purple one would try to smite me with radiation, in which I decided, there and then, I would have to find a way around that. I did not like the idea of being followed by some purple horse thing that could ghoulify me if I looked at her wrong. Twa? Applejack said quietly, having dropped the basket of algae pies. I thought you said you were going to take his weapons from him. I thought I did. He had it hidden on him. The unicorn whispered back. She listened to the growling coming from his stomach, followed by his request. He says he'll forgive you for what you did if you give him the food. That's why I brought them in the first place. She nudged the basket closer to him, remembering Twilight's warning about his hostility towards magic. She looked up at him with what she hoped would come across as an apologetic smile, before backing away slowly, keeping a wary eye on the strange metal thing in his hands. Would you believe me if I were to say that the orange pony that gave me food had a cowboy hat? No, honestly, a great big Stetson. She had her mane done in a ponytail. A horse with a ponytail. I know. Having got the food, I put the gun down. I got what I wanted, and I didn't think they were much of a threat. They just seemed so innocent. You ever had apple pie? Like an actual, real apple pie instead of one of those 200-year-old things with more preservatives than actual fruit? It was like sex for my sense of taste. We will never have anything that tastes anywhere near as good as those things did here in the wasteland. What? No, I don't have any of those pies here. I don't know how long it took me, but I ate the whole damn lot. I ended up feeling sick afterwards, but it was worth it. You know, there's no real place for etiquette and table manners out here. After all, you take too long to eat something, the next thing you know, your camp is swarmed with coyotes, blowflies, and every other mutated animal trying to kill you for a quick meal. So yeah, I tore through them like a death claw tears through a mole rat's. Those were good. The last of those pies was like taking a dozen hits of jet. There was no way in hell I was going to be coherent. Author's notes. The T-51B, 5 inches thick, capable of stopping everything short of anti-tank rounds. Still won't stop Applejack. Also, Google Docs says that Zipperkin is a real word. A Google search netted me pictures of Zikora's plots. I'm cool with that.